streets of Barcelona, and I am on Passeig de Garcia, I want to say. It's a pretty cool place, and I'm about to show you an amazing, beautiful, beautiful building. But what this reminds me of before I go there is with my mom. So I was a teen, and it just actually hit me when I saw the store. And I was walking around with my mom, and we saw this store, and there were these like cute little dresses that my mother really wanted to go see. And she said, you know, we need to go and take a look at this stuff. And it turned out to be basically a sex shop. But she was so embarrassed to take me in there, and then we went in, but she had no clue what we were getting ourselves into. She grew up at a different time and place, and but every time I come here, I will forever remember my mother and the embarrassed look on her face when she discovered where we just went into. So now let me show you a really, really cool thing. My architectural friends, you will absolutely love this. This, I believe, is one of Gaudi's buildings. He was a famous architect and has designed quite a few different buildings throughout Barcelona. Take a look from this angle because I think you're gonna absolutely love it. And yes, so the building that you see was designed by Gaudi, one of the most prominent architects that you can see a lot of his designs and buildings throughout Barcelona. And I believe you can actually rent the place here or buy it, but I haven't found anything for rent or sale, so you're gonna have to wait if you want to live in one of these. What I absolutely love about this building is that, you know, living it's supposed to be functional, but it doesn't mean that it cannot be beautiful. And that was really what his design was. I'm gonna look at this. That's a balcony right up there. Look at these windows and just the entire design of the building. It's very, very cool. If you are interested, you can actually get a tour for the building, and when you're done, there's a little chocolate place so you can enjoy it. And across the street, which you can't really see, but I can from where I'm standing, you know, there's a coffee shops. There are coffee shops everywhere. I get to see the building from afar. Look how amazing and beautiful that is. And I wish I can, oh, I can. Way to go, phone. Let me zoom it in so you guys can really take a look at that building. I'm still on the same street, and I'm crossing it right now because I want to show you something, and it's because of where the sun is located. As you can see, I'm walking towards the sun. You can't really easily see it, but I think I'm going to be able to show it to you once we cross the street, get into a little bit of a shade. And I hope that you're sitting down in amazement. Again, for architects and people that love beauty, you're gonna love this one. Are you ready? We are approaching the building that I want to show you. So all of the folks that are enamored with real estate, with buildings, with architecture, art, or just beauty as a whole, behold the second Gaudi building that I wish to show you right now. Look how gorgeous that is. Yeah, those are balconies all the way up to the top. Look at that. So the building that you see behind me is probably also one of the very famous Gaudi buildings. And yes, you can actually go visit it. It's a museum now. I think it's gonna cost you about 20 to 25 euros. If you translate that, if you follow the official exchange, it's gonna be like 35 bucks. If you follow unofficial, which is what you're going to pay, it's probably gonna be closer to 40 bucks. But I think it's worthwhile. Look at that thing. I'm gonna kind of move the camera around so you can see it. And so I know that I look kind of funny in it, but it's just amazing to see that. All right, let me show you from up close. Look at that. Look how beautiful. And if you're looking at the building to the left, don't worry, I'm gonna show you that in a moment. But this is the building. Now, I want to show you a building next to it, which a lot of people kind of miss. But I don't think it should be missed. Again, for the lovers of art. Oh, there's a tree and a lot of people that I want to show you around. Look how beautiful that is. And now I'm going to zoom out a little bit to kind of see both of them. They're very easy to spot. I mean, they stand out. All right, so here we are, Casa de Gaudi. That's that one over here. There's another one, beautiful. And again, right there through that, I don't know if you can even see it, but you can see there's a little shop. That's actually another coffee shop slash chocolate shop. So they're very big on sweets here, and they enjoy beauty, dancing, basically anything beautiful you can count on encountering it in Spain. And since we're doing a bit of this walking tour and being able to see it, I have good news for you. It looks like we will be able to go into a couple of the apartments, or at least one. It looks like that's pretty much confirmed. I'm waiting for one more sort of yes, we're in confirmation. But I just saw a store, Mango Man. I gotta go check it out. Why not? All right, for the record, Mango Man, I'm gonna have to go visit before I leave because I have found some stuff. I just don't want to necessarily carry the bags around. Enough talk about the clothing and that kind of stuff. I want to show you buildings. That's part of the reason why we're here. Check this one out. All right, look at that. Look how beautiful that is. It's the details, So again, if you are loving some of these buildings that you're seeing, you're wondering where this is in Barcelona, that is going to be on Passeig de Garcia. It is basically downtown. It's this giant boulevard, basically, that you can walk up and down. A lot of shops, a lot of little cafes and restaurants that are kind of tucked in. And if you have thought that that was all that I could see, I have a bit more to show you. Oh, hold on, before we go there, for all my soccer fans, there you go, official Barcelona club, football club. When I say football, I mean US soccer, but it's football. Official store. So for all of my Barcelona and Spain soccer fans, enjoy. But we're about to cross a street again, and when we do that, I'm gonna show you something else. But before we do, I want you to take a look behind me right about now. See that little guy? Pretty awesome, huh? All right, you gotta love these like little art details that are being put everywhere. It's just, I think that's what makes the cities awesome. And there's a lot of cultural details that one can find if they're looking and if they're in the right place to be. All right, time to switch the camera to the other side. I want to show you something really cool. And while we're waiting for the green light, might as well just show you kind of all around. So hopefully you have liked that little gem or gems that you were able to see. And yes, the hoodie is back on because it's a bit chilly. It's not that warm. I mean, it is warm, but there's a bit of a wind, a bit of a breeze, and I'm in shade, and so a couple of t-shirts just won't cut it as the sun is starting to go down. Well, I'm in a shade, so it's down for me, I guess. But one thing that was really cool that I want to share with you about Spain, just in case you've never been and you're considering visiting, for almost as long as I can remember, I wanted to live in Spain. And part of the reason is siesta. So there's something really cool and powerful about ability to take a lunch and be able to rest after a meal. It's very healthy for the body, and so just about all of the stores, all of the museums, everything kind of closes after lunch for 2, sometimes even 3 hours, and then they'll reopen it up and then they'll work later. And so just about everybody kind of here has this like really, for us, weird working schedule where they'll work from 9, maybe 10 in the morning till about like 7-ish, maybe 8-ish at night. But here's the thing, they take this nice lunch break, then they take a siesta, then they go back to work, and then after work they meet up with friends for some tapas and some drinks, and then they go home, spend time with family, and be able to relax and enjoy their life and kind of rinse and repeat. And it was that sort of health conscienceless balance between work and life that was really important to me, and it still is, that I really applaud this particular country for. So we are one of the squares right now. There's a beautiful water fountain, a lot of people, skateboards, bikes, everything else. So you kind of have to be careful, but you can probably see it behind me maybe. I don't know, sun is in a way, so it's not particularly playing, but I want you to kind of see some of the things, and hopefully that's an enjoyable and not necessarily nauseous thing. In case you're wondering where all of those pigeons were and what that square was, it's called Plaza de Catalunya, and it's based off of, oh my gosh, I am being attacked by pigeons. It's a little bit uncanny, creepy, and uncomfortable, to be honest. So I don't know how that guy does it with all of the birds attacking him, but I got nothing. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. But it's the reason that a lot of things are Iberia is part of the peninsula where Spain is located. It's Iberian Peninsula. So there you have it. A bit of a geek tends to come out a lot, and sometimes I annoy people when I do these things, and at the same time I can't help myself. So I don't know what that says about me, but hopefully you'll love me anyways. If not, you're at least tolerating, because every so often, maybe, just maybe, I give you something good. We are off the square and off of the, what I like to call the Gaudi Street, just because there's so many of his buildings. Now we're probably in one of the most popular streets in all of Spain, in all of Barcelona, Las Ramblas. So La Rambla is probably, it's the walking zone, and I will do my best to showcase some of the stuff, but you really, to experience it, you kind of have to be here. And I want to show you right now what's happening and what I'm seeing. And keep in mind it's February, so it's super low season for this part of the world. Check this out. Hopefully you can see like the amount of people that are just in front of me that are walking, and then another mountain of people behind me. And I have just started from the square walking down towards Gothic area of the town, down towards the beach and the marina. So off of La Rambla, I took a left on one of the streets that just kind of struck me as kind of neat to go and explore. And look at this. So the beautiful cathedral that you see behind me is Catedral de Barcelona, and light is playing a bit of trick, but I think we can do this. Check it out. Pretty awesome, huh? Alright, so from Catedral de Barcelona, we're gonna go back to La Rambla, which is that pedestrian walking zone. Not that everything else hasn't been pedestrian or walking for that matter, but you know, it's pretty amazing when you get to some of these old towns that have existed for centuries and you see them evolve, and some of the things are beautifully preserved and still exist, and then you have brand new things, and it's kind of cool to have this like building from 1400s, 1300s, 1200s, even, you know, 900s, and then it has, you know, Nike shop in it or something like that, or better yet, like Apple Store. Although I haven't seen an Apple Store quite yet, but I have seen Nike and Levi and that kind of stuff. So a lot of small boutiques, a lot of really cool things to explore, a lot of arts. You know, it's just, it's you can fill your day and spend a lot of money if you want to. Oh my goodness. All right, so I took left at Carrer de la Portaferrissa, and basically got lost in all kinds of like cool shops and wandered around like really tiny streets that are basically pedestrians only, and it was really, really cool. But anyways, the story I was trying to tell you, but then I was so distracted left and right that I kept stopping doing it. Walked into one of the leather goods store, mostly looking at men purses or merces, which by the way in Europe are just considered bags. But anyways, in the United States we have a little bit of different standard of what male and masculinity means than maybe the rest of the world. There's a gentleman that was standing there. He happens to be from the United States as well, retired, and I typically tend to strike off a lot of conversation with retired men and women, which is kind of cool. But anyways, we were discussing of just he was asking for some feedback on the bags and kind of which one looked better on him, and I've given him my feedback, I guess, what I would prefer, but again, explaining that that's just me and everybody must find their own style. So we're talking about different things. He asked what I was doing, explained that I basically provide financial education for individuals of all ages, and as always, or as usual, not always, but as usual, I got this like, oh, well, let me tell you about my 401k and my retirement plan. And so he was telling me about his experience with 401k and how he's grateful that it's been going up, and his fear that it might go down, which I basically said, yeah, at some point it definitely will. So you got to take precautions right now if that is to happen, what you will do. And then he was telling me about 529 plan for his grandkids, and he clearly hasn't attended any of my sessions or read any of my blogs or any of the stuff that I talk about. But so I wanted to use an opportunity to share with you that I don't believe in 401ks. I don't believe in 529s at all. In 401s, like if the employer matches it, might make sense, but do something in addition to that. As far as 529s, I get it. I still prefer to do it my way, that I have already done a few different posts of how to do that, especially if you plan early enough, because if the kid decides they don't want to go to school, if you need the money for anything, like there's, right, doing a 529, you basically could potentially lose everything, and if you pull it out, there's penalties. Whereas doing it my way, there's no penalties, you can pull it anytime, and you get a much better preservation than market kind of playing yo-yo with your money. So anyways, that's kind of the runt on that. And now we're gonna go into something really cool. It's called Mercat St. Joseph La Boqueria, and let me show you what it is. This is what I'm talking about, and it's basically the largest open food market that you can find, and look how awesome this is. So I mean, you can see you have anywhere from food to chocolate to fruits to I mean, it's just it reminds me, this particular market that I just was sharing with you kind of reminds me a little bit of Philly. I'm trying to remember the name of it, where it's in downtown Philly, right by the convention center, where you walk in and there's all kinds of like vendors just like this, that you're able to get food. Of course, this has a bit of a Spanish flair to it, but nonetheless, it's really cool, and you should definitely check it out if you decide to come to Barcelona. This is a must-go place to visit, and of course, make sure you grab some food because it's delicious. This over here would be my kind of shop because it provides paleo food, and I can definitely eat there. Another one of the things that I can actually have are these guys behind me. Let me see if you can see what it is. Let me change the camera. Check this out. How awesome is this? And the best part, it's all fresh. And if meat and fish won't do it for you, nor olives will, this might get you excited. Look at all this amazing vegetarian approved goodness. And for my chocolate lovers, here you go. Feast your eyes. I couldn't help myself looking at all that food. I had to go and get some, and I have just realized that today I have spent a lot of money on food, but that's okay. You know, when you travel, you want to try different things, and for me, it's not even trying things. It's just really going back in time and memory, and a lot of these flavors and smells and textures take me home, take me to my childhood, and you know, when you're able to do something like that and travel in time, it's worth it. All right, so we're out of the market and off we go back to La Rambla And as you can see, it's getting dark. So let's see, time is 6:15. So the sunset comes here, I want to say around 7 p.m. or so. So I still have a bit of a daylight hours, and then you may not see me, but you will hear me. So one of the things that is interesting about Spain from my memory, and we'll see if my memory still serves well and if things have not changed as much as maybe we all think they are, but as the night starts coming in, you know, it actually starts heating up. People start going out, enjoying meals, and so dinner is not going to happen until about, I want to say 8-9 p.m. You can see it's about, you know, 6 o'clock, and restaurants are mostly empty because it's not dinner time, it's not lunchtime, it's, you know, it's just walk around time, I guess. And but tapas are going to start picking up in about an hour or so, and then dinner, and then of course bars, pubs, clubs, rooftops, and all kinds of other ways to entertain oneself until about 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 a.m. and then you rinse and repeat, I guess. But I doubt that I'm going to be able to pull that off, but we'll see. You know, I am very much functioning on US time zone, and so who knows, I might surprise everybody and stay well below, I mean beyond my bedtime. Right, my friends, even with all of the stops, all of the sidelines, all of the, you know, checking out of everything, I am reaching the end of La Rambla, and it ends on I almost switched to Serbian in the middle of the sentence. It ends at the square where it's basically a statue of Christopher Columbus. I'm actually going to turn right now. Ready, set, go. Boom. All right, you can see him right behind me. So there you go. We have reached the end of this, and then after that it's basically the ports and then the sea, and I guess I can swim home, but I probably won't make it, so I'll just stick around here until the flight leaves. There you go, as promised, we're going to the ports, and we're not sailing today, but we will be sailing, so that's exciting. And I am hoping to take you with me on that trip, so you get to experience it, even if it is just through my vision and through my eyes. Behind me you can see the monument to Christopher Columbus and the square that we just crossed. Behind me is this gorgeous building, is the port, the Barcelona port, and I'm actually gonna, let me just move away from the trees a little bit, and then I'm gonna sort of turn around. Here we go, check it out. You can probably see it, not as good. You know, these phones are pretty good, but they're not that good. So, and in case you're wondering why I'm doing this stuff, growing up, we used to travel a lot throughout Europe, and I was so fascinated with travel, with history, with doing the tours, that even at age 10 and 11, we traveled to certain locations so much that I memorized the history of the place. And when we would be on a bus tour, I would actually take over and guide a tour, and so I guess it's still ingrained in me, and I love doing it. I do have to admit, it is getting a bit chillier as the sun is going down, the moon is up, and you know, the night is coming upon us. But that's okay. I mean, I'm pretty okay, but it is getting definitely chillier and cooler, and so you even see it in people wearing a bit more jackets and scarves and stuff. And oh my gosh, so this is, you know how I get excited about finding a great deal. But this view that I'm about to show you is what just melts my heart. Are you ready? Hold on. 3, 2, 1. Look. I know it's a boatyard of sorts, but it's just, there's something about it in my lifelong dream to live on a boat. Maybe not forever, but for a little while at least. I'm hoping it's going to come true soon enough. I also have a dream of living in a tree house. The bridge opened. Hold on, let's see if we can catch it. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, look, it's open. You see it? It's like moving. So cool. And then, fellowship, you get through. Pretty awesome.
Bridge can cross. We, not so much. Well, I guess we could swim, but I'm not doing it. Alright, so I did quite a bit of walking, exploring the area over by the ports, where all of the beautiful yachts are located, and daydreaming about my living on one of those puppies at some point in the near future. I don't know if that's gonna become before or after my tree house, tiny house, and 10,000 different houses that I want to live in. But I took a brief break from walking, sat down, and caught up on some of the messages and emails. And as I have told you, is that I have been looking at potentially scheduling and had a scheduled viewing of a property here in Barcelona. That was located right in the center, you know, a couple blocks away from La Rambla, the street that I was in, that I was kind of showing you some of the cool things that I was walking through. Anyways, I received a message that the property is under contract, and so it's no longer available. So cool for the owner and for the future buyer and owner. But not so cool for us because we don't get to see the property, and so the deal fell through. And you know, sometimes when you really want to take a look at a property or you're really excited about it, there are going to be times where, you know, you're not the first kid on the block and property moves before you're able to see it or do anything with it, and that's okay. You know, like I have told you in some of the videos, of don't get caught up in a moment of really needing and wanting something so badly that you're willing to overpay, and don't get emotionally involved. It's business, and sometimes it may feel personal, sometimes it may be acted on personal, but don't take it personally. And you know, the way that I look at it is, it wasn't meant to be, and that's okay. There's going to be better things that show up. I was more personally excited. Obviously, I wanted to see it for my own personal investment reasons, but I was more excited to kind of show you the place so that you can see it. However, I have been chatting with the realtor a bit and have been doing some research on investing in Barcelona. So I will definitely still do a video of what I have learned about the property market, ownership, renting, and that kind of stuff in Spain, in case that is something that you are looking to do. You know, when you have multiple properties, it is sometimes really good to expand beyond just one market, and there are benefits to it for sure, to be able to spread your portfolio, so to speak. You know, when we talk about investing in anything, you know, when they talk about stocks, they always talk about portfolio and being willing to sort of spread it and balance it, and the same can be achieved with real estate. We just look through different markets and different types of properties that we want to invest, and that's my personal take of how to diversify a portfolio. So while I do own very few, I mean, it's minor, I wouldn't even call anything as owning or any of that. I mean, it's true, I do, but it's such a minor portion of portfolio as a whole that it's irrelevant. And I'm talking about like the paper assets. When I think about my real estate holdings, I do want to spread outside of just one market, one area, and one type of property, for the reasons that some properties appreciate much faster, and so you get benefit there. Some properties are better for a flip, and then there are properties that are much better poised for cash flow opportunities. And I think that you can play the market in all of the different areas. And you know, so if you have one property, obviously you're right, like that's all you got, and that's okay. You got to start somewhere. Most of us have started with just one property, and you slowly expand and move on. What I'm trying to say is, if you have ability, or if you're looking for multiple, start thinking, considering doing different types of properties and different markets. And you know, don't spread yourself so thin where you are like in 50 different markets if it's just you as a solo investor. If you have a large company with a lot of people that can manage and help you manage that portfolio, and you know, that becomes a full-time business, that's a different proposition than doing it part-time, because you want to make sure that you understand the market and you understand the place, and that you have time and ability to focus to do the most with what you got. But at the same time, I don't know that I would have 3 single-family homes next to each other as like my only source. So that's just the way that I like to think about it. And so wanted to come in and share that with you in case you are thinking of real estate being your portfolio holding, and kind of how do you balance all of that stuff out? Like, how do we think through diversification in that particular realm? And so for me, it's not necessarily holding tens of thousands of different things, or even hundreds of different things. It's really focusing on a handful of things that I can understand and know. And for me, that is mostly property, although I am invested, like I said, very minutiae in some of the paper assets, crypto as well, and then of course some precious metals. But that's not really an investment, that's more of a insurance policy, if you would. Hope this was helpful, and let's continue on our tour of Barcelona. Often when I travel around, people tend to ask, like, what is the best way to see things? And most people don't like it when I give them the answer, and the answer is walk. A lot of walking. So that means put some comfy shoes on, and you know, take it easy, take it slow, and walk around. You'd be shocked and surprised how much you're able to see. And I typically don't research the place until I get there, and let the locals tell me where I should go and what I should see, and I just follow my heart and my feet, I guess, to be able to see the best areas. So I just start wandering around, and when something catches my eye, I just go there. And that has been something that has served me the best, to really get to understand a place. Now, with that being said, I also tend to walk anywhere between 15 miles a day on a low end up to 30 miles a day on a high end. So a lot of walking if you decide to ever travel with me. And no, that's not an invitation. I do enjoy solos, but just wanted to let you know so you can prepare. Well, my friends, it appears in my wonders I have stumbled across some sort of demonstration. Right, the whistles and the shouting gives it out. But I am in one of the squares in the Gothic area, and you can see behind me there's a group of people that are demonstrating. It seems like it's a peaceful demonstration. I have no clue what's happening, and no, I'm not that curious to find out. Over the last 20 some years that I've been in Spain, right, so it's been 20-25 years maybe, I have actually noticed quite a bit of change in people. Maybe not so much. Food, definitely not much. You know, the culture and stuff, not a whole lot. Language is still the same, which is quite lovely. Nice to know that that's not shifting a lot. What I am noticing is that a whole lot more people speak English. And what I am seeing is how much further the American influence has come in. There's so many USA brands, you know, all over. They have stores all over the place, and it's definitely an interesting kind of concept to see. Although it's still Europe, and there's still a lot of that European feel to it. As far as the number of people that I see out there, there's a lot of Asian population visiting, which I think the entire world is feeling that now, that they can travel, which is awesome. I'm seeing quite a bit of US based as well, and hearing language, of course. And some of it is, you know, maybe my generation. Vast majority are going to be much older, retiree type of travelers. So that's kind of the piece that is interesting. The other one is that motorcycles here are motorcycles and like mopeds and that kind of stuff are really big, and they have been even way back when. Same story goes for like Paris, for example. But what I am seeing a whole lot more picking up are the bicycles and electric sort of mopeds and bikes and longboards and that kind of stuff, and there are bike lanes everywhere with bike lights and stuff. And so that's kind of a new thing and trend that I've noticed that has developed, and you know, that's pretty cool that has happened. But you know, it wasn't as prevalent, and if it was, I clearly was not paying attention to it at all. We all know that the Paris has the Arc de Triomphe, and Barcelona has one as well. It's different, it doesn't look the same, which is not supposed to, but yet again, we have it, so there you go, found it. Morning, it's day 2 in Barcelona, and first full day, I guess. Was able to actually get some good sleep, and I thought I slept in because I slept all the way till 8 a.m. and then I realized my body is still operating on US time, so technically I got up around 2 a.m. So there goes that. I guess I'm right on schedule, so didn't really sleep in, but I did for European standards. Well, not necessarily European standards, so my standards on European time, but so there goes that. So today should be really cool and awesome day. We are going to go and do a tour of Barcelona. So there are these free tours. Hold on, you can't hear me at all right now because of the buses and trains. And okay, there's no trains, but there's motorcycles, cars, and buses. So all over Europe you can find free tours. So if you're traveling to Europe, to any major city, you'll be able to find free tours that are available, and they're about 2 to 3 hours each. They will take you all over the place, give you some historical understanding and background. A lot of the tour guides are history students, professors, and just basically history geeks that enjoy doing this stuff and enjoy meeting new people. And so whether you are traveling with a group, with a partner, or doing a solo travel, you can join one of these free tours. You don't have to pay, and then at the end of a tour it's really all tip based. So depending on how the tour guide did, you may choose to pay for the tour at the very end. So that's something that is really cool that I wanted to share with you, because I know a lot of times when we travel we don't know what we're getting ourselves into, and so I wanted to make sure that you're aware that this thing exists. And it's just simply look for free tours and then put your name of the city that you're traveling in, and typically you will see them. These guys are carrying these giant umbrellas. They will say free tour, and so different colors in different locations, but that's kind of one of the things that you can find. Often these are done in multiple different languages. English is just about everywhere, so as long as you speak English, you'll be fine. You'll be able to get into a tour and enjoy the city. So that's what we're doing today. this morning. Then I have some afternoon plans of potentially going dancing. So that's still not scheduled quite. It's still part of the thinking. And then this evening, doing a really cool thing. For some of you, you may know that I enjoy opera quite a bit. And I don't know that I can call myself opera geek, because for me, to be geek in just about anything, you kind of have to understand it really well and know a lot about it, and I don't, but I do enjoy it and I enjoy going to it. And so this evening we are going to go and see Carmen, which I find to be quite awesome because, you know, it is all based in Spain, and I am in Spain watching it in likely Spanish. We don't know. I guess I'll find out. But there's something very cool and special that I was able to do, and that is go behind the scenes. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to go backstage and meet people during the show and what's happening, and we'll be able to do that, and I will make sure to take you with me so that you can kind of experience it through my eyes. So that's the plan for today. We still have tomorrow and Saturday, and then Saturday night I'll be back home. There are many things that make Spain and Barcelona very, very special, and every place, every town, every country has its own special thing. What in my eyes makes Barcelona incredibly special is when it comes to driving and parking. Most of us are used to parking on, right, like the street where you park next to a curb, kind of like this. But Barcelona, on all of the intersections, they're all I want to say octagonal, or yeah, octagonal shape, because you'll have the sort of 4 crossings of the street, and instead of being sort of a square corner, they are all basically cut, and they utilize those corners to be able to park vehicles kind of like this. So, and then of course you have coffee shops that are right there, so you can pull your car in, sit down, have coffee, and forget about wherever it is that you were going to begin with. Alright, my architectural friends, here's another really cool building. I call it 10,000 Eyes, or where NSA shall live, but they probably have a different name than I had just come up with.
They can be up to 100 kilos in weight, just under or just over 200 pounds, more or less, an idea. They are carried by one person. So what that looks like inside is like a wooden ladder with 4 legs, soft cushion area for your shoulders. So you basically go inside, leave the skirt of the giant, go inside, and squat the whole thing on your shoulders. 100 kilos, 100 plus kilos, just under. And then you go dance with them on the street. Not walk, not a boring slow walk. You go dance. Carvings in the 16th century. They are just brought here in the 16th century. Where do you think they come from? They come from the city. My question is, where do you think there was stones with inscriptions on them? It's a horrible place to imagine to take stones from. Cemetery or the graveyards. Yeah? So these could actually be, some of them are actually names of people.
And the steps that you are looking at right now are the steps that Christopher Columbus came to when he, quote-unquote, discovered new land, India, aka Americas, basically.
It's closed. It's closed. I thought it would be super busy. I thought like, oh, maybe they are done. No, it's just closed, so we don't have access there.
Alright, so we finished the tour, and I took some photos for you, maybe recorded it, but if you were looking at these cool stone walls, I'm actually in the Picasso's museum, so there we go. I'm gonna go in and have fun. Alright, so just left Picasso's museum, and I might be stoned for saying this, not stoned like high on drugs, but like people might get angry at me. But you know, if you have limited time between Picasso's and Dali's museum, go for Dali any day of the week. It was okay. Definitely not impressed, and maybe because I'm not as big of a fan of Picasso to begin with, I think that there's some work that I really do enjoy and appreciate, but I'm glad I did it. Will I do it ever again? Probably not. Will I go visit Dali's museum? Most likely yes. So there you go. If you have limited time and can only choose one, I personally highly recommend going with Dali's and skip Picasso. Oftentimes I'm being asked of how it is possible that I travel around the world, and you know, part of it is ability to create money or generate income without having to trade the time for it. And well, yes, I do quite a bit of work, and I spend a lot of my days working. I probably work on average 12 to 15 hours a day, if not even longer. But I do it because I enjoy what I do, and often it doesn't feel like work. You know, there's this misconceived notion that there's a life-work balance, and I believe that that's the case if you don't enjoy what you're doing. When you love what you do and it doesn't feel like work, rather it feels like play, then you can work many more hours and it never feels like you are doing a whole lot of work. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about what I do. It gives me permission to travel, to explore, to do what I love to do. And the cool part about owning your own business is that a lot of these trips are tax deductible, meaning I am able to reduce the expenses or claim them as a regular business expense. So even when I'm traveling around the world, like right now I am in Barcelona, Spain, my expenses for the trip are basically business expenses, all of them, and that helps me spread the dollar further, if you would. And of course, being in Barcelona, that means that I spread a euro further, I guess, if I was to translate it to the currency here. And that's one of the things that I'm so passionate about, teaching people how to do that and travel or do whatever it is that they want to do, that they enjoy doing, while never feeling like they are spending time working. Talk about the real estate in Barcelona. And while in this particular video, I'm not going to talk about the buying component of real estate, but I'm going to talk about the economy of living in Barcelona. So it appears that the average monthly income in Spain is about 1,000 euros. So official exchange rate is going to say that it's going to be about $1,150 or so. Unofficial exchange rate, meaning when you go, when you travel and you go to the currency exchange place, if you would, it's going to cost a whole lot more because of the fees. And so in that case scenario, 1,000 euros is going to be about $1,250. So that's a little bit of a difference, but imagine that is what the average income is. Now, of course, if it's an average, that means that roughly speaking, 50% make less than that, and 50% make more of it, right? So that's kind of what the average is. And the problem with averages, the part that is really interesting as well is that roughly average rent for Barcelona is about 1,100 euros. Average rent in Spain is about 1,000 euros. So imagine this, your average income is 1,000 euros and your average rent is 1,000 euros. That doesn't mean that there's much money left, if any, for anything else. And so what we see a lot within Barcelona and a lot of more expensive cities where the income and the living expenses are sort of equal is that folks will get a lot of roommates. You know, they will couple up and kind of make their living that way. So that's kind of the interesting piece that I thought would be probably beneficial to you. Now in Barcelona, it depends in which area of the town you live in, and the 1,000 euros or 1,200 bucks is not going to include any utilities. That's just basic rent. Then you have, of course, the utilities. Then you have, living expenses like food and going out and gas and parking and all the other things. And, if you want entertainment and clothes, well, that's also going to cost some extra money. So for some of the folks that are in the United States, which is where most of my audience is, although not all, if your income, for example, say that in the United States, your income that you're able to make is about $2,000 to $5,000 a month, potentially living in Barcelona could be a, relatively speaking, affordable way to live. Now, Barcelona is not the most expensive city in Europe. It's actually one of the cheaper ones. Weather is beautiful most of the time around the year. I am here, it's February, it's beginning of February, so it's on a cooler end. It's a lower season. And as you can see, I'm sitting in a hoodie, I have a t-shirt underneath it. It's a bit, I'm right now in the sunshine, so with the bit of a breeze that I'm getting, it's a bit on a cooler end. So if I had a jacket or a vest, I probably wouldn't complain. So I misjudged it a little bit, but if there's no wind and sitting in the sun, it's quite gorgeous. So temperatures in February are going to be low to mid 50s typically. Sometimes you may get a 60-degree weather. We're talking Fahrenheit here. And then in the evening, it will drop to mid 40s or so. This is probably as cold as it gets. And of course, then summers are much warmer. So that's kind of one of the things that is really cool and interesting if you are able to be an expat, and that's part that I talk about and teach about in Money EMT book that I have published and that is available on my website. I believe it's also available on Amazon as well if you're interested. And on my website you can actually get it for free. On Amazon it's going to cost you some money, but I talk about the concept of coming up with a way to retire in a place where you want to live by playing with the currency exchange and the cost of living. And so Barcelona is one of the great examples of that, that if I'm able to, say, make $5,000 a month, I can come and move to Barcelona, where apartment is going to cost me about $1,200 a month, and then maybe additional $500 for some utilities and living expenses, which leaves quite a bit of money left over for other things in life, like going out and doing things. I find that traveling around Europe is not all that expensive. Going out and food is not as pricey as I have found it to be just about anywhere in the United States. Hotels tend to be a whole lot cheaper here, as do museums and different things to do. So that's one of the things that I know for me is part of the strategy that at some point in the near future I will likely execute on. But again, I enjoy being in different scenarios. Now, problem for some of the folks, potentially problem for some of the folks, is that in Barcelona, in Spain, they speak Spanish. Although one of the things that is really cool is the vast majority of people will speak English. It might be a bit broken English, but it's English nonetheless. And as long as you know a few words and you try, eventually you will pick things up and you will learn. And I think that you will enjoy being in Spain a lot. Food is absolutely delicious. People are super kind and warm. You get to meet people from all over the world, definitely from all over the Europe. And it's an easy to navigate city, and learning a little bit of Spanish before you get here is cool, but it's not mandatory. I'm right now in an area basically just leaving Parc de la Ciutadella, which is where Barcelona Zoo is located, believe it or not. And heading actually towards probably one of the things that I think Spain and Barcelona are known for, and that is the traditional bullfighting, right? And so basically going towards the arena where all of that happens. But right now where I am, and I'm gonna pan this in a moment, is more of the local residential area. It's not very touristy, it's not very populated by tourists by no means, and this is pretty much what a regular, if you were to think of like high-rise where the locals live and spend time, this is fairly typical. for the sort of just outside of that very touristy place. So if we think about the Gothic area of town, that's going to be very, very touristy. And while yes, there are people that live there, there are homes that are being owned and buildings that are being owned by people and populated. Most people don't live there, clearly, because it's A, not that big, and B, it's going to be much pricier, just like any city that you can think of, right? The downtown, more popular areas are going to be pricier. This is something that I think is much closer to the quote-unquote average of where people live. So you can see kind of the buildings behind me, right? And kind of gives you a good perspective. When it comes to food choices, breakfast, you know, eggs of course exist. There's all of those pastries like croissants, are still very familiar and popular here to have. Of course, there's the fruits and that kind of stuff. Most of the coffees are going to be espresso, although there are coffees that you might find like things like Turkish coffee and Americanos, which is espresso based anyways, and you know, filter coffee, you might be able to find it, although not as prevalent. Food wise, paella is their traditional meal, and it's basically rice with saffron, and it's going to be yellow in color, and the typical paella is going to be seafood based, so you're going to get some fish, some shellfish, and that kind of stuff. They do have vegetarian versions. Of course, there's a chicken version, beef version, pork version, mixed meat version, and so on. When it comes to the meats, they are very big on pork. Jamon is their cured pork, and it's, dare I say, delicious, but I understand not everybody eats that. And that's okay. Just wanted to share with you what is sort of being offered and what exists. It's gonna be, jamon is sort of like a prosciutto, similar to it, but typically is going to be a bit thicker cut, and personally I find it quite delicious. As far as the cheeses, of course, they have an assortment of cheeses. The most popular in Spain is going to be manchego, and depending on how you like it, I tend to like aged cheeses better, so you're gonna look for like 18 months. Sometimes you can find a little bit older. On a 6 month, it's gonna be a bit softer, not as strong of a taste. On the 18 month, it's going to be harder cheese, a whole lot more flavor that you can enjoy. Now, of course, that's for everybody to decide. Olives are, of course, really big, as is olive oil. Wine, they do have a good assortment of wine as well. Their red wines are quite tasty. Garnacha is probably one of the most famous ones, but they do have a few different wines that you can enjoy, and I find their wines to be maybe not as sophisticated as some of the Bordeaux's, but they are nonetheless tasty, and often you can find them for quite affordable price. So if price is an issue to you, you can definitely find some affordable wines that are still quite tasty. One of the things that also wanted to mention is that just because it is Spain and they do have a lot of their Spanish dishes and so on, they do have a lot of restaurants from all over the world. There are a lot of immigrants in Spain from everywhere, a lot of Latin America, you know, the Africa, the Middle East, so all over the place. So do feel free to expect that you're going to be able to find all kinds of different dining options if that's of interest to you. So walking through the residential area, going over to the bullfighting arena, I'm seeing a lot of cranes, which you might be able to see in just a moment right behind me, which basically means that there's a development happening. So typically when we see development happening in cities or just about anywhere, it means that there's typically a need for more housing, and it makes sense financially to actually build them. Oftentimes that's also going to signify that lending or financing is readily available, and as long as the development does not over supply, does not provide more housing than is necessary, more buildings than is necessary, things are going to work out just fine. However, typically builders will start jumping on board, and when we start seeing a lot of cranes, meaning you look at the city as a whole and there's cranes everywhere, which right now where I am, I think I see well over like 10 cranes all around me, in front of me, behind me, so all over the place. I don't know what that means, but what it does, it raises a flag for me to say I need to look into this much further and deeper to decide where we are in a market. So hopefully that's helpful to you as you're making those same decisions for yourself. All right, so the building you see behind me is the bullfighting arena in Barcelona. So it opens at 4 p.m. Most days. I think it's closed on the weekends, and so it's one of those things that it might be cruel for some folks, but it is a tradition for the Spaniards. And so if you are not grossed out by an animal being played or tortured with, or whatever, however you look at it, and then, you know, being executed, typically the execution is rather rapid for the animal, which is kind of nice. But if you are in a mood, one of the things that there are restaurants around the arena that will actually serve the bull, including los cojones, or let's just say male parts. So if you are quite adventurous, go ahead and check it out. Behind me, you will see right there in the distance over my shoulder, kind of where my glasses are, that's La Sagrada Familia, and probably the most famous church, and the last piece that Gaudi has ever worked on. He was actually in process of working on it on his way to church for a confessional. He got hit by a tram, and a few short days later he passed. And so right now, La Sagrada Familia has been being built for about 150 years or so, and it's still not finished. And it wasn't finished when I was here 20 years ago, but I am being told is that their date for wanting to get it completely done is the 100th anniversary of Gaudi's death. And so they have not a whole lot of time left to get it done, but I guess we'll see. All right, my friends, I hope you are excited for something quite amazing and beautiful. And I keep looking up because that's where we're turning right about now. So right behind me, you're going to see beautiful Sagrada Familia. Let's see if you can see it. As you can see, it's still being built, but you will clearly see that the two sections, right? So that's the old section. Where's my finger? Right over there. And that's new section being built right now. As you can see, the church is quite elaborate. Let me zoom in so you can see some details. Look how awesome and amazing it is. Crowds are pretty big here, and yes, you can actually enter, but it's going to cost some money to get in, and you need to reserve online and buy your tickets well before you wish to come, because it gets booked quickly. And so it might, on a low season, it might be like a day or two ahead. In high season, like summers, plan on purchasing at least a week ahead.
Machine gun to repel the fascists. So they did not blow up Sagrada Familia for that reason. But what they did do is go down to the crypt where Gaudi's workshop was and destroyed most of the models and drawings of future plans. So after the war, it was a very slow and tedious process of trying to salvage whatever they could. A lot of guesswork involved, not done properly, impossible at the time with the top technology available. And work on Sagrada Familia didn't start again until 1950, 11 years after the war finished.
All right, y'all are not gonna believe where I am. I'm actually in La Palacia del Músico, and I was able to get a super VIP treatment. So that stage basically behind me, and that's my seat. So I can literally smell the artists and performers, and the building is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I'm actually gonna move just a little bit so you can see basically where I'm seated. So that's me right there. I get the entire balcony basically. This is the stage right behind me where Carmen is going to perform, and this is the beautiful theater. This is their opera house. This is where they perform all of their things. Look at the organs. You can see them right up there. And it's just fabulous. I'm gonna switch the camera and show you guys around from the other side, because this is breathtakingly beautiful. And if you think inside is gorgeous, you should see the outside. All right, so I tried to switch cameras and you couldn't see anything, but let me show you from this camera the detail. So look at these columns. This is basically all broken stones and mosaic, and everything is kind of done in that way. Behind the stage, check it out. And I can't zoom in because I'm in the wrong side of the camera, but I think you can see it. And it's just absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. So I'm excited to see the show. And then of course, at the intermission, I get to basically go see the performers and hang out with them, which is pretty awesome. So, and I just got to meet Christina, who is the producer, and she's been in performing arts for forever, does film, television, and of course opera now here in Barcelona. So there you go, pretty awesome. So just saw the sign, and it appears the birthday of the building is coming up in 3 days. So in 3 days, the building is going to be 113 years old. So it says February 9th, 1907. There was a lot of broken Spanish on my part, and a lot of broken English on their part, but we definitely had a lovely chat. Got to go backstage, meet all the actors, and it was a bit of a madhouse, but that's pretty much what I expected it to be. Having done some theater in the past and having done some dancing, I get a bit of a familiarity with what happens backstage, and you know, it was basically what I expected it to be, but it was so cool to see the show, and these guys were fantastic. You know, I got to meet some actors, singers, orchestra. The flamenco dancers were fabulous, which I would expect that to happen, given that we are in freaking land of flamenco dancers, okay? Went to the opera, and it was really cool. So right before the opera started, and sorry about the noise, I am in a city and there's a lot of motorcycles. Right before the opera started, they had asked everybody to shut off their phones and have stated that it's a zero recording and camera policy. So I followed the rules and didn't violate it because, well, it's just a nice thing to do. And sometimes I do that at my own events, and figured, well, if I'm going to ask people to honor my stuff, I should probably honor theirs. So that's why I don't have any footage whatsoever from it. So my apologies for that. And then when intermission came, as soon as like the lights went dark, they came in and grabbed me, and the producer's friend, who also happens to be an actor, and her partner also joined us. So it was basically 3 of us, the producer and the communications coordinator, whisked me to the side thing. You know, we basically briefly walked through the back. So imagine you have 20 minutes. You have multi-orchestra, multi-dancer, singer, of course, like then the stars, makeup artists, kids, all kinds of things are happening all the time. And 20 minutes to get wardrobe changed, get everybody, you know, with water, to be able to rest, to change stuff, to get the makeup applied and fixed up. You know, if there are wigs, to get that fixed. So a lot of moving parts, and 20 minutes sounds like a lot, but by the time we went up and down the stairs, so it's actually a fairly small space back there, and it's like 3 floors, 4 floors, something like that. So you're doing a lot of up and down the stairs. There's an elevator. But as they have explained, that during the play, no actor or anybody actually who is doing anything with the play is prohibited from using it, because they're afraid that if somebody gets stuck, right, the show has to go on, and so nobody's allowed to use it. So they're all using stairs, running up and down. So I got to meet the makeup artists and a bunch of people. And so when Carmen, or the performer that portrays Carmen in the opera, came out on stage, I mean, I'm thinking, holy mackerel, like totally authentic Spanish gypsy woman thing kind of going on. You know, you have this hair, you have this, you know, I mean, just beautiful, beautiful, you know, perfect French singing, perfect Spanish singing, something, of course, you know, she has to be from Spain. We go up there and she goes, oh, am I hearing English? In this perfect British accent. Turns out she is from UK, and the hair and stuff, it's all makeup, it's all wig and stuff. She's like blonde and has like zero Spanish blood in her, but she did such a phenomenal job singing and performing that it was just really cool to see. So then as soon as we basically exchanged 2 words, the a runner, I guess, came up and said, you know, 2-minute warning. So they had to whisk me back out. Everybody started running, and by the time we left her room and got, or you know, like the dressing room and stuff for the stars, which by the way, they don't have stars on their doors. So just FYI, at least these don't. You know, it was already dark over there and the orchestra was trying to come out, so we quickly got, you know, snuck back in so we're not disturbing anybody, and then be able to finish the second act. Overall, such a wonderful experience, just so cool. By the way, Carmen is one of my favorite operas anyways, and then being able to watch it here, watching it in Spain, where there's a lot of Spanish influence in it, and there's a lot of story about the Spain and the Spaniards. It was just so cool. The flamenco dancers blew me away. The whole thing, just the whole thing was really, really cool and absolutely beautiful story. And spoiler alert, in case you've never seen Carmen or any of the operas, at the end, she dies. That's typical for opera. Somebody always dies at the end. So but it was so moving and so beautiful. My emotions were on a wild roller coaster ride in a really good way, and I mean, just got goosebumps just listening to them sing. So anyways, hopefully this is inspiring enough for you to want to go and at least give opera a chance. If you go out and try it, you will either love it and you'll know it right away, or you will never love it, but perhaps you will learn to respect and honor the art form. For me, Madame Butterfly was one of the first sort of operetta would probably be a bit more accurate of a statement, and then La Traviata, and then Carmen. I mean, just go visit Carmen. Honestly, it's fast-paced, it's moving, and chances are really good you'll recognize a lot of arias. Alright y'all, it has dawned on me, I haven't taken you to the subway, so there we go, Barcelona subway, and basically going from La Sagrada Familia to El Centro, to the center of town, where we're gonna go down to the marina and jump on a ship. And here's my train. So excited to be able to do it. You see that guy? Boom! My new friends. We're going sailing, and that's the captain and my new friend Brigitte from France. Alright y'all, I gotta tell you, this is life. One can definitely get used to this. It's very peaceful, it's quiet, it's talk about a total escape. You know, I've gone to boats before, but I haven't done sailing quite yet. I always wanted to do it, and it's quite amazing. It just words can't describe the feeling of peace and calm that I have, and the gratitude for being able to experience this. Beyond cool, beyond cool. In a moment I will take you on a tour, show you a bit of a boat, because you know, as somebody who always wanted to live in one of these, you know, I'm kind of like house shopping if you think about it. So but yeah, so we'll do that a little bit, but I'm gonna sit here and you know, I guess meditate for a moment and just enjoy the sight. Alright, so we're on the inside of the sail ship, and as you can see, this is a kitchen basically. So you have these cupboards. Where's my finger? So those are cupboards where you can basically store stuff. You know, there's the sink. It's a triple sink actually, which is kind of cool. And you know, food prep area. Typically you'll have like a minor or small fridge, a little oven, stovetop, microwave, and you know, I mean, talk about a view, right? So kitchen with a view, speaker, plugs, pretty cool. Then over here we have a dining room area, and oftentimes in boats these dining room areas can turn into beds, but I don't know if that's the case here. Maybe not. A lot of storage. You will notice that just about everywhere that there's some sort of storage and hidden compartments, which is what makes this kind of cool. But this is the living room quarters, and of course radio and safety equipment, which you must have. And then typically you have, so basically bedroom, bathroom, bedroom, and then I think it might be a couple of more like storage rooms, bedrooms. So pretty awesome, a lot of really space. Oh, there's a TV as well. And then this is the mast where the big sail goes, and there you go, the rooftop. So really excited. You know, it's tiny space. If you can, you know, this is me basically just turning around, and I can probably run from one end to the other in, I don't know, 2 seconds flat, and not even run, like barely walk. But there's something quite unique and awesome about being able to do something like this, to live in a environment where every square inch is being well utilized, is something that I find quite amazing. I think that a lot of us are very wasteful. You know, I used to live in 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home, and it was ridiculous. It's just me, and you know, how much space do I take? Maybe 2 square feet at most at a time. The rest of it is quite unused, and things like this, things like tiny homes, small apartments, condos, boats, are very intelligently designed, where every inch of a space is well utilized, and it's just amazing to be able to, you know, have something that is a food prep slash storage slash anything else, and that just makes this really cool. So that's kind of exciting piece about what drives me towards these like tiny eco living kind of thing. But so before we complete, I want to show you the bathroom, because I think it's kind of cool. Alright, so this is the bathroom, which you're like, okay, cool, why you show me that? Because I want you to see a floor. So it's a floor and a shower. So everything is in one. Talk about space utilization. Pretty awesome. And here we basically have a bedroom, as you can see it. So there's not a whole lot in here, but there's like some storage underneath it, and it's a place to sleep. And of course, this is the entrance or the exit, depending how you look at it. And then you get to go outside and just hang out there if the weather is nice.
Bleu sur bleu, c'est bête, non? Blue on blue, stupid. when you see nobody see you.
Yeah? I'd go red. All right, my friends, so the sailing experience was beyond awesome. I spent about 2.5 hours on the sea, and that was really cool. But I'm back on land, and things are a bit swimming, as they say, because you get used to, or at least I did, get used to things moving up and down. And now nothing is moving up and down except things in my head. My hair is a hot mess and I can see it, but I really don't care at this point. I guess I just look like a seaman, which that even sounds wrong saying it out loud. So yes, there's a joke in there. I'm certain of it. Anyways, back on land, and time to go and get some dinner. And I am in a mood for paella, which is not traditional meal for Barcelona, but it is for Spain. And so while I don't need to stick to quite the region, so my understanding is Valencia is the place for paella. But I'm not going to Valencia. I am here in Barcelona, and so I'm gonna make the most out of it. If you're enjoying water and wanna test things out or try it out, sailing experience was really cool. Definitely loved it, definitely enjoyed it. My I guess tour guide, if you would, was Jorge. I had a lovely sort of a new friend from mountains from the Alps in France, Brigitte, and she was fantastic. She still is. We had a fabulous chat that sort of ranged from a bit of French to a bit of English to a bit of Spanish, so we kind of went back and forth between the languages, and that I think made it even more special. And we chatted from anything about like cool places to eat and drink and things to do, all the way to the politics, all the way to the economy, all the way to all kinds of things. And it was really cool and really neat. One of the things that I have definitely learned that some of the folks might be wondering about is the whole concept of what's happening with Catalonia, which is where Barcelona is located, so it's part of Spain, and whether there's this whole separation or not. And big part of it is what we get to hear and see on the news is that people want to have a separation. But in my chatting here with people and learning more about the culture and kind of what the people want, vast majority of individuals are not interested in that. There's some folks that are interested in it. There's some folks that stand to make a whole lot of money from it. There's some younger individuals. When I say younger, I'm talking like 18, 19-year-olds who potentially could be very easily influenced by propaganda, who are very much interested in that. But I think as a college kid and as a high school kid that used to be part of doing a lot of, let's say, marching against the government, although I believe that we had a really good reason, I can see the appeal in it and speaking for something that you don't always understand or have a deep impact on. So that's kind of where the interesting piece that I have learned is that vast majority of people are not interested in the whole separation piece. They are interested in staying part of Spain. They are interested in doing well, not just for themselves, but for everybody else. And there's a very strong sentiment from individuals that I was able to connect with to want to stay more united as opposed to separated. And so this nationalist movement that sometimes we get to see in some of the areas is very radical, very permanent for some folks. Yet when talking to what I like to call normal individuals, there's no interest for them at all. So, and as you can hear, my new friend, I'm gonna call him El Pero. See? He agrees. We actually were able to see a couple of really cool yachts. When I say really cool, I'm talking ginormous. Like, it's basically a freaking city on water. These things are about 200 meters in length. That's like 2 soccer fields, roughly, or 2 rugby fields, I guess. So they're pretty long, and the part that is really interesting is that there were 3 of them being parked, and one of them belongs to a local Spanish oil guy who owns oil fields in Siberia and is a very close friend of Putin, so what I was told. The second one is owns a boat, is from Saudi Arabia, and is also in the oil industry. And then the third one is, I believe, a Russian who owns the boat, and that gentleman is involved with the arms. So he is, I guess, arms dealer, arms producer. I'm certain it's all legal. But there you go. So it was really interesting to see 3 large boats that are worth about $1 billion each, and that's with a B, which you know, I look at that and go, holy mackerel, do you know how many apartment buildings I can buy for that and then rent, and the amount of money I can make with that? But you know, they make plenty of money with oil and the arms, and so these are nothing but just potentially things to park their money in, and to be able to use or show off every so often. I was also told that the gentlemen that own these things are rarely using them, so it's typically they have a crew that runs the boat, and crew runs it, you know, 7 days a week, 53 days of a year. And so the crew is basically tied to the cell phone. They park it here in Barcelona because it's an easy place to park. And then typically they just receive a phone call saying, in a week be here, or in 2 weeks be there. And then they just show up and potentially may stay there for 1 or 2 weeks. And then they go back wherever they were going and whatever they were doing. So something to aspire to potentially for some of you who are considering that being your future calling. I guess oil and arms is the way to go, at least was for a little while. And you know, maybe it's the way that if you were thinking of living like them, then that's the way to do it. Get yourself a $1 billion yacht and then stay on it for 7 days a week, or 7 days a month. No, 7 days a year is more accurate. You know, personally, I think that there's better ways to spend your billion and invest it, but you know, to each their own. All right, my friends, this is it. Last hour or so in Barcelona, just wandering the streets for a little while longer, and then it's time to get to the airport and back home, back to the daily grind, as they say. The good news is I love what I do, and so going back home is really, it's a bit bittersweet, I won't lie, because I love this place. But home is home, and there's a lot of people and things waiting for me, which means I gotta get busy and I gotta get stuff done. But for now, I shall enjoy my stay and enjoy the last few minutes, so to say, of this beautiful place. And then once on the plane, we're gonna get some work done, and that's that. So it was fun, it was awesome, and look forward to coming back. It's very much coming home every time I am here, and for that, for the opportunity, I am beyond grateful. All right, my friends, I am in metro going back to grab my bags and off to the airport. But one of the cool things is I was just going to make a video that I haven't seen anything Bitcoin related or cryptocurrency related while I've been here, and right behind me, maybe you can see it right over my shoulder, I saw the first ad for Bitcoin. So that was kind of cool. What I did see is a lot of we're buying gold, we're buying silver, and I did make a video that I didn't see anything Apple, but I did actually today just find the Apple Store. So apparently everything is here. Some things are much more prevalent than others, and it's kind of cool and exciting to see that some of the things very much are global. We are turning into a global economy, and it's still alive and well. All right, so we're officially in Barcelona airport, and I'm turning around so that you can see when I was sharing with you the part about being in Boston and turning over from the passport to the sort of international side. I want to show you, just look at behind me, because this is what airports throughout Europe look like. There's a lot to do and very easy to get distracted. Trust me, I've done it one too many times. Nearly missed my flight to Belgrade from Rome one time. I had to run, and thank goodness for the American passport. I have kissed it more times than I care to admit. Because it has given me a speedier access and ability to really make my flight. Otherwise, I probably would have missed it completely. Now, we could always argue to say, one more day in Rome, how bad can it be? But when you're traveling to see family and the kiddos are expecting you, trust me, it really is bad. So I'm glad that I made it. So I'm gonna wander around and then off to the flight.